So, you've taken someone else's nostalgia. Don't panic, we can help. White men in masks are heroes, but black men in masks are scary. Thank God times have changed. Yeah, thank God. It is extremely difficult to be a white man in America right now, so some are going to just try to be a blue one. We are talking HBO's Watchmen Season 1, Episode 7, and Almost Religious Awe. The AfterBuzz After Show starts right now.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, AfterBuzz.
TikTok, 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 TikTok.
She is Maria Menounos. I am Dr. Manhattan. I just couldn't
You
wait.
are Dr.
Because I knew
Manhattan.
Nate would say that first, and I had to beat Nate to the punch.
I mean, let's make sure. I brought a hammer here as a prop for this
Just
opening
kidding!
bit.
Just kidding!
Just
Just
kidding.
kidding! But they weren't kidding on this week's episode. They were not
They were
kidding.
not messing around whatsoever.
This show continuously surprises me. I would love to say our predictions are right, but they are not. We are tip of the iceberg predictors at this point. And by we, I mean me. And by me, I mean us three. We are the panel of HBO's Watchmen. We are talking Season 1, Episode 7, and Almost Religious Awe. And I, personally, am almost religiously in awe of this show.
Couldn't
I
have said
have
better.
to say that.
Couldn't have said it better, Tehran.
This show is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
It's not just my opinion.
Mm.
We
It's
will
factual.
get to that later in this week's episode as we after show it all the way now. If you don't know who I am Tehran. I am joined by an illustrious panel. I'm a DC watcher, but I'm not the only one. All the way to my left's left, Nate is in the building.
To the left, to the left.
Yeah, to the left, to the left, to the window, to the wall. That is Nate. Nate is the historical, accurate
Like a standing
DC
ovation.
interpreter. That is exactly who you are.
I'll take that.
That is a thing. That is a real thing.
It's
That
a-
is, DC called me and was like, who?
Ring, ring.
Wow.
And it was Nate. They said Nate.
Wow.
Nate,
Yes,
it was.
that is the thing.
That's actually makes a lot of sense.
I don't know if it was
you know
DC Comics
and
or
you-
Washington, D.C. I'm not sure, but it was
wow.
someone. Someone from
very
D.C.,
high
something
up.
D.C. They said D.C. Direct Current. I'm not sure. But to my left, but Nate's right,
Nate's right.
is our cultural attaché.
In the middle.
Ryan Nilsen is in the building.
So happy to be here, y'all. I too am in religious awe this episode, and I'm in a little bit of an awe because we don't have Drew today. But it is Miller time, and we're with the one and only Tehran. This episode was absolutely amazing. One of the best twists. Yes, we might have predicted something like this, but we didn't know who was aware of
You thought
the
Calvin
twist.
was Dr. Manhattan? Please stop speaking.
I didn't
I
say
s-
that.
I said
Nate
that.
did.
Nate
but we
said
did not know
something.
that Angela
No,
was aware.
I said Cal is Dr. Manhattan.
He did predict that, but we
did
did not
say
predict that Angela was aware. So it's just massive
no,
twists on
that
twists.
I did not
I predicted
think.
it too.
This show is great, and
Why?
I'm in
You
the
can't
chat,
just-
y'all.
No, it's on. It's there. We
I'm
can-
in the
we
chat,
can pull up
y'all.
the
Please
receipts.
comment
Not that
away
we
your
need
thoughts
to.
on this episode. Let's do this.
We're going to get into overall thoughts on this week's episode, and we're going to get into this debate on who predicted it first. However, we will be breaking this down as thus. Dr. Manhattan's montage, Angela in Vietnam, Grandma June. We got that tidbit on nostalgia. Bian, that was a very good twist. Did you predict that too, Nate Miller? No, you did not.
Actually-
Manhattan Boots, I hate Nate Miller. Millennium Clock, Agent Blake, 7th Cavalry Plan, Adrian's Trial. That subplot is developing and going further and more confusing than ever. The big reveal, of course, which we've revealed since the beginning of this after show, Calvin is Dr. Manhattan. Our special segment, Buy or Sell, where we buy and sell something from the show, the most favorite part and the least favorite part, even though our least favorite part tends to still be an extremely favorite part.
True.
And news and gossip, we have some great news and gossip. You're going to want to stay tuned. This concept of how Watchmen came to be what it is today, predictions, and so much more. Overall thoughts, I need to know what your overall thoughts on this week's HBO's Watchmen Season 1, Episode 7, and Almost Religious Awe, Nate Miller.
This is my favorite show on TV right now. This episode was incredible. Best one they have had so far.
You've said that every single week.
It somehow has gotten better and better, and they have done an incredible job at setting up these mysteries that have payoffs while still having mystery. And like, we've learned so much about what's going on, and we still have no idea what's really going on.
We know nothing.
Yeah, and it's really difficult to do that and execute that very well, and I want to give them props because they've done an incredible job. I still, like we said, you predicted some things there are a lot of clues to, but still how those things are going to apply to the general story, I have no idea. And yeah, I love it. The performances are great. The use of color to show like the old memories versus the new memories, and like just the overall cinematography and the score. This show is just like the whole package. So yeah,
And
I'm
to
just
be
gonna
very
gush
fair-
every week.
To be very fair, because Nate needs this, Nate has predicted several things that seemed unpredictable at the time.
I'm not trying to claim credit for these
We get it, man.
predictions.
You predicted it.
No,
You can get in credit.
got it,
You're,
dude.
you know,
Here we
not
go.
trying to claim credit.
Nate predicted
The
it.
show starts off. Nate's like, I called it. I said it. Just, okay, Nate, we get it.
right. We hear ya.
Thanks.
Saw it coming.
I feel
but the
better
rest
now.
of us, I felt, were shocked. Ryan, were you
I-
amongst the shocked?
Overall thoughts, I think Cal Abar went to medical school in Manhattan, and he is Dr. Manhattan. I was blown away by this episode. Okay, this was amazing writing, great twists on twists. You just cannot see it coming. I love this show so much. It is the best show on TV. Constantly just keeping you on your toes. It's incredible. I absolutely love it. Every character is so developed, and it's a huge cast when you think about it. Like, there's just so many people in this ensemble, and just the amount of payoffs of little tiny details that have been in the corner, and how just no matter if you're a big fan, if you've read the graphic novel, seen the movie, or just coming in fresh, there's always something there for you, and you can view this show in so many different ways. It's been written in such a special way that any viewer can get something unique out of it. I am absolutely in love with Watchmen.
My biggest critique of this show
Yeah.
is that it is not the comic book. It is an extension, it is an addition, and it is the best of both. It makes me question my own personal intelligence because I watch this show and think to myself, this is so brilliant. Where did they even begin to create this storyline? It is the most intriguing, compelling television. I say this every week, and I stand by it every single week on television itself. It raises the bar so high that every other comic book TV show, especially DC shows, which are usually some of the best, it raises the bar so high that all of them fail in comparison.
That's high praise. You know, I'm a producer here. Tehran does more superhero TV after shows than any host here. So the fact that you're saying that is the highest
The
praise.
best. I am
That is huge.
an avid watcher of all these shows. I'm an avid watcher and purveyor of both DC and Marvel.
Yeah.
I've praised DC television shows while condemning the movies. I did love Watchmen, the movie, even though a lot of people who were avid fans did not like it because of the interpretation, but I understood and was happy that the movie got made because it could have easily been overlooked.
Right.
Watchmen, for many, ratings-wise, was a form of Guardians of the Galaxy in the DC world. It was something that
For
was
sure.
looked over by the masses and consumed by the few and understood by even less. So watching Watchmen now on television and watching it as we watch it as a group, watching it individually, and watching it where you literally have to digest this show. And the more you digest it, the more you realize how great it was.
Yeah.
The tidbits, the callbacks, the understanding. I have not waited for a single plot line to unfold on this show. Nate pointed it out earlier. We get so much information and yet literally still know nothing.
Like a day passes.
Still, the more information we know, the less we actually know.
Right.
And that in itself, but not in a confusing way, not in a we don't understand what's happening way. We want to know more.
Yeah, I think it's just a masterclass on how to do a sequel because
No. A sequel is disrespectful to what the show is. It's not a
Continuation.
sequel. It is a continuation.
I understand.
Sequel. You know what a sequel is? Fast and Furious 9 is a sequel.
Yeah, but
This is a continuation.
Yeah, my argument would be that all of those
Hobbs and
Fast
Shaw.
movies should not be considered sequels. They could they should be considered franchises, and that's why I mean a true definition of what a sequel is. They really demonstrate that they understand the source material at its core, and once they're able to do that, they can take these already existing
Rocky,
characters.
Creed 2 is a sequel. This is something else, my friend. This is something else.
I agree with you. I mean,
This is something else.
I agree, it's something else.
This
Creed
is
2 's
not.
pretty
This is not sequel. This is not even continuation. This is a universe that's been created, and I'll explain. Let's look at it on the cinematography level that you were
Well,
explaining.
yeah. Let me just give me one. I say all this. Choose whatever word you want. I say all this to say, just like you said, it's like a new experience because they've taken the thing that made Watchmen the comic book so powerful was it deconstructing these tropes that already existed within the comic book universe, right? And they have been able to not only keep those same things about comic book stuff, but also other things about television. They've been able to apply, most times when you have comic book adaptations that are either TV or movies, you lose something because there's certain storytelling tricks in comic books that it's very difficult to pull off. For example, something I noticed rewatching the episode today, they just do a great job of these things where they do the roll-off narration where the voiceover starts in the other scene, but it's not just to help ease the transition or speed an edit along. It's because that important line of dialogue, it relates thematically to the next scene, just like in the
Yes.
book with the 9 panels. So
We're in agreement, except
Yeah.
for the word sequel. If you want to call my mother a whore, that's fine, but do not call Watchmen.
fine. I won't.
The
I'm
HBO
not-
show a sequel.
Theron, I'm not
Do you
gonna die on that
understand?
hill.
Do you understand,
Yes.
Nate?
I feel like
I agree.
Ozymandias is on
That's
trial
fine.
right now.
This is a thing.
hold on.
Guilty.
Let me prepare my.
Bring up a pig.
Don't fart! Don't fart!
That was actually a scene where I felt that was not unnecessary, and when it comes down to it, that will be the scene that I sell. But we'll get to that, of course.
Okay.
However, we're gonna have to start with that Dr. Manhattan montage.
Yes.
Because I know that both Ryan and Nate have a lot to discuss regarding that beginning trope coming from the Dr. Manhattan, which we've seen this before. Actually, we've seen something similar to this in the museum. So here's the Dr. Manhattan trope. What were your thoughts
Jumping into the montage in Vietnam.
in the beginning? The beginning where the statuesque was explaining the Dr. Manhattan story.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I mean, well, what's so great, I was kind of alluding to this earlier, is, there's so many viewers who haven't read the graphic novel, they haven't seen the movie, and they're coming into this. And there's a great idea about this, that the original graphic novel, they're catching the reader up on what's happened with the Minutemen in the past. So if you're viewing the show, you're being caught up on what happened in that graphic novel. So what's so great about that opening montage is you're learning about the origin of Dr. Manhattan, and you've seen it if you've read it, but now you're getting it again firsthand. You're being brought up to
visualization.
speed, a visualization. So I thought that was really interesting, while also connecting it to, all right, this is what he did in the past, and now we're going into Vietnam in this beginning of this episode. We're having some flashbacks, and what is Dr. Manhattan all about? Like, what is he capable of? What happened to him? And I think that's really fascinating when you think about it. So, I mean, his origin, obviously, he went back to get his watch, and he was locked into this container where this experiment was going on. He was obliterated, and then he brought himself back together, and he's now basically a god.
I
Really fascinating.
It was extremely fascinating, and I liked how easily they did it without forcing it. Nate Miller, if you want to call my grandmother a prostitute, that's fine. If you call this a sequel,
fine.
we're gonna fight.
Okay.
What were your thoughts?
I already agreed not to. Just for the record.
Just making sure.
What'd you
Okay.
call her? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It was. It's just a great storytelling tool to be able to have it be in universe, like this documentary-esque way, and just like I just want to echo what he said. Like it was. It's difficult for me, being a longtime fan of Watchmen, to kind of like see how someone who's not familiar with the movie or the book would, anticipate a character like Dr. Manhattan without having the backstory. So I think this is a great way of establishing that. Also, it's just really cool that they are really weighing in on like the real world implications of these type of events, and like what it would be like if your country was, if we did win the Vietnam War, because we had what is essentially a god just walk over and just blow it to pieces until they surrendered. And that, that whole story of like what is essentially, it seems like almost like a propaganda historical film,
Right.
leading into her backstory and seeing the festival and the bombing obviously and how the people are reacting. It was really powerful. Like it's something that hasn't even happened, but it's still it's not that far away outside of the whole superhuman god thing. Like the colonization of people, and like that's a very real thing that we are still dealing with the ramifications of.
And Vietnam becoming the 51st state. As watching that montage, was the montage accurate, being someone who is a true student of the comic?
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, we've had little glimpses of other things on TV about other characters, like, oh my God, I'm forgetting the news. What's it? The Hooded Justice, and they got that so wrong. Because we see the actual origin of Hooded Justice from last week's episode, so it's interesting that they have that one perfectly, and then others not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's perfect, but I think in terms of I didn't notice any big inaccuracies. If there was some, they went by me. But one thing I did think was really cool is they showed the intrinsic field generator, and then later in the courtroom, the judge's desk thing is the intrinsic field generator just turned on its side. So it was cool to see it in the visual flashback in the beginning to have confirmation of that's what it was.
Totally.
And that is actually very cool. I liked how seamless it was. It is a great tool because the concept is the viewer may not be so familiar, but now I'm getting caught up, and you, the student, are extremely familiar and are still on board and on the same page. It's great to see that happen. And if you want to call my aunt a stripper, Nate, please feel free to do so. But if you say the word sequel, I will have to fight you. I'm just letting you know.
Got it.
When it comes to fighting, we also saw the fighting in Vietnam, and of course, America wins, thanks to the one and only Dr. Manhattan. That's the tidbit of how Angela is in Vietnam. Father is in the services. Mother is there. Vietnam is the 51st state. We understand that there are extreme opportunities in new states, and it goes from there. What were your thoughts on that storyline regarding Angela, her parents, and of course the movie Sister Night?
It was there's so many Easter eggs in that scene with the different titles on the movies in there and stuff. But seeing this, this mystery of how she became Sister Night has been an ongoing thing. So to now see where she got the name derived from and see her relationship with her parents. And I believe we had already known that she was orphaned.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. So
she didn't have any,
but we weren't as sure of how the extent of not only just the orphanage, however, the concept of the grandmother and all the interesting tidbits that we got in this particular storyline in a flashback of a memory.
Yeah.
I was going to say, shout out to Faith Herman, first off. That's the actress who played young Angela Abar. We've actually had her in studio. She is a delight. I was so excited to see her on screen. She's in another DC property, Shazam, this year, so she's just killing it on all levels. I really love seeing this origin play out on screen. And, with all this backstory on Angela's family, just going back to, there's this whole lineage of being a police officer, and a lot of police officers, they don't have many ties to family. And that it plays into the reasoning behind their move into justice. So it was interesting that she wanted to be a police officer before her parents perished, and then after. That definitely played into her origin. Also being Sister Night with that cowl and everything, being inspired by a movie. It's so cool
because the movie looked like her. Something that was also a nod towards representation. We see constant social commentary being brought up, and we also see that the character. By the way. Can we all agree that the grandmother, young and old, seemed like the same person?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Didn't age a day.
No,
and
she aged, but it looked like the same exact person. I honestly had to look it up to make sure that they weren't. They were not the same actor.
Oh, they weren't?
They were not.
Oh, I thought you were making a joke for a second.
Consider my mind blown.
That's
a separate actress?
That is a separate actor. Wow. So Valerie Ross plays the grandmother June. And that's why it was very interesting. That casting. And so Danielle Deadweiler plays the June we've seen. And then grandmother June is played by Valerie Ross. And that energy and act characteristic was so comparable that I also thought they were the same, and I had to look it up.
Wow.
great casting.
We got some awesome chatter.
Comments?
We,
Let's
first
get
of all, we
into
have
the
like almost 100 people in the chat right now. So thank you so much. This is
Thank you
on
so much,
Sunday.
but not enough. Make sure to share, subscribe, like, spread the word, tell your friends.
Hit the like button. We had someone just asking, do you think Dr. Manhattan killed the grandmother? That's from Westworld. I mean, it's so fascinating because this is all happening in Vietnam at the time, and she did just kind of fall over. And but we there's so many interesting tidbits.
But they brought up the heart attack, so I thought that was a continuation of she had a heart attack, but she's fine, and now, and as
another
soon as
one.
Angela's about to be saved in some way
And pulled out.
all of a sudden something else
Tragic.
happened. Tragic happens.
But importantly, she
and we
gets
get the
just a-
Tulsa,
Yeah, exactly.
the Tulsa word.
Yeah.
With this, because we hear, well, we should go back to Tulsa. They're in New York. We should go to Tulsa. And now we see, we're in Vietnam. I mean, let's go to Tulsa. And now we know why.
Yeah, she
It's been
gets just a,
implanted in her.
a hint of
That's
a
where
little
we're
bit
from.
of her family, which she really doesn't know anything about because her dad never, included his dad or his mom either. He cut them both out, and so she wasn't connected to that side of her family at all.
That also storyline of masks are scary, bad people wear masks, and it's because we saw the origin story last week where William Reeves is the Hood of Justice and his son is made afraid of him.
Yeah.
Smart.
Wow.
I like all these things. They always do callbacks, and that appeals to me and, of course, writing and comedy so much. They always play the part. The bomb goes off, killing the parents.
Yeah, well, what was really fascinating about that as well is, this show's had a ton of social commentary across the board, and you're thinking, all right, Vietnam is now a state. Obviously, you're going to have some people who weren't all right with that, some resistance, and the fact that you also got an early sighting of, all right, Angela, even as a kid, is so aware of her surroundings. She saw that coming. She's just so young and didn't really know what to do at the time. But I mean, she had the instincts to recognize what was going on, and then that awful explosion happens, which is why that she later becomes a hero. Yeah, it's really interesting in that she points out the person later, and that's her first time like bringing someone to justice. So again, it just plays into her origin of, this is what happened to her parents. It's very similar to Batman in that regard, and bringing them to justice through the police.
But she had this sense of justice within her, and we see this before losing her parents. She wanted to do something in that motif, tells the grandmother, I'm going to be a police officer, wants to hear the gunshot to the accuser.
Right. She wants to be present for it.
She wants to be present. She wants to hear it. She even says, can I hear? Can I listen?
And they're like, nah.
And then they let her.
They let her.
In almost police form vigilante justice. I don't believe there was a judge, jury, and just executioner.
Yeah.
Angela's origin stories lead us to know who she is as an adult. We see the word Sister Night. We understand all these things.
Oh, it's so great.
Grandma June comes back in her life. What were your Grandma June thoughts?
Cool.
For a day.
Nice to see where you've been, and I mean, it was nice to get an update, and because we've been getting pieces of this story, and we obviously know where Angela ends up, but we don't know the middle parts. So it was nice to kind of get the connection of what's going on. But
she strategically or noticeably doesn't mention Will Reeves. Doesn't mention anything. Like, asked
She
about
specifically
is like, I'm not going to talk about
she
that.
changes the subject.
Right.
She's like, what movie is this?
I love that one.
This is my favorite movie, baby.
Don't mess with her.
You don't want to mess with that motherfucker.
Don't ask about him
Are you
again.
allowed to curse to a kid? That one was like, I don't want to mess with that motherfucker.
So
Like,
clearly,
what?
right, you could read into that. There's some type of falling out that happened there. There's something that's going on with Will Reeves.
Well,
that-
we know the falling
we
out.
already-
We
we
already
saw
saw
that.
that
We
happen.
saw it happen, but like
Now
there's
we know
no
it's
reconciliation.
lifetime. There's not.
I
and
mean,
she
she
took
says
it to the grave.
like, she basically says like, you don't exist to me anymore. And
Sure,
when we
but
go, we're not,
to be very fair, the amount of women that have told me I don't exist to them anymore.
it's low hanging.
But they never reconciled, which is like, okay, that's pretty. It's a little tragic, and the fact that this little girl just lost her parents, and she's not even going to mention, hey, I'm this. You don't have another family member out there. That's really interesting. So I mean, yeah, that's really all we kind of learned from that, and that she was also familiar with Sister Night. But yeah, she just dies. She drops dead of a heart attack. Find the car.
Drop dead behind the car and no more. But at least we get a lot of memory from nostalgia, and we learn a little bit about how nostalgia works and how Angela's cure is working. We get an elephant.
The elephant in the room.
Literally.
Let's talk about it.
I felt so stupid after I saw the elephant and then they showed the Trieu logo again. I was like, duh, it's a fucking elephant. The whole time I thought it was like a rip on like Tesla, but it's an elephant with trunks. Like,
well, some people are making great comments in the chat. They're saying elephants are known for having amazing memory.
Amazing memories, yes.
Yeah. So obviously, linking her up to that's really just great writing once again.
I'm still like, it was still kind of muddy. I'm wondering if she just put Will's memories in the elephant because elephants have great memories, so they're just like big memory hard drives, so that Will could go do whatever he's doing and they can still do the process.
Whoa. Yeah, I predict that also. By the way, I just want to go around. Whatever Nate predicts, I'm also predicting.
He called that.
Okay.
Called it.
It's just a theory.
I saw the connection between the elephant and having great memories, but we also learn about, of course, pneumodialysis.
The elephant on the room thing is like, there's many levels to that.
There's going to be a lot of levels, especially since it is specifically the logo. There has to be something specifically intrinsic regarding elephants.
Well, even just in this episode, like knowing that I'm assuming Trieu,
assuming.
She insinuates that she knows who Dr. Manhattan is. And we know who it is. We know Angela knows who it is.
We know now.
She doesn't say it. But
she doesn't say it, but
the way that she says it makes it seem like... And she
specifically says, you didn't ask. She says, Dr. Manhattan's been a human, and then you didn't ask.
I told you that, and you didn't ask me, yeah.
You didn't ask me.
And she also says earlier, like, are we just going to be honest with each other? And so to me, the elephant in the room is also this, like, the whole time that they've been around, like, Trieu knows...
everything.
Yeah.
Well, she's a genius, and we'll get to that, definitely. But talking about the pneumodialysis, those memories have embedded themselves. Basically, nostalgia as a memory has embedded itself into the neural networks, clogging existing pathways and threatening higher cognitive function, which is why it's so dangerous. So it's called recollective infestation. Only remedy for infestation is to call an exterminator. Pneumodialysis basically saturates the brain with cerebrospinal fluid provided by a natural host and literally flushes nostalgia from the cortex.
Whoa.
Sure.
So now we see what Angela is hooked up to, the IV system that she has going on, the injection, which explains it to her, that counteraction, and we get Bian and a prediction that Nate and I made regarding Bian actually being the mother.
The mother? Yeah, that was a major surprise to me because...
Whose memories are you feeding her?
Right.
Angela thinks she has a one-up on Lady Trieu, and Lady Trieu very plainly says her own.
Right.
Yeah.
So interesting. And the possibilities with just that concept, you could do so many different storylines with that. Just putting another person's memories. It's really... It's kind of remarkable, but the fact, and it's a reason behind why they kind of outlawed it. And yeah, I'm really fascinated to see if they kind of go further into that. I mean, we still don't really know the full significance behind that, other than maybe that's a little bit of humanity in Lady Trieu in a weird, odd way, and that she's trying to keep, her mother around and with those memories.
Nate, do we have any predictions regarding this?
I think that there's going to be more to it than just like the reveal that she's the grandma.
Yes, we do think
she's going to be involved in some way in like what's going on with her plan. Because I think the timing is interesting. If she's a clone like the clones that Vite has, then why hasn't she just
grown?
Why not just make her grandma age, like, or at least like adult age, like. Yes. So if she's just growing naturally, then that makes me think maybe she's different, or maybe the timeline is specific, like when she started this. There's just something more into it. But yeah. But
do you think Bian knows that she is a clone?
No, I don't think she does. And I think that's why she says that when we first see her and she talks about having nightmares about the Vietnam stuff, like she doesn't even realize that they're memories. She just thinks she's having like nightmares.
Dreams.
Yeah, very vivid dreams of Vietnam.
Wow. It makes you think a lot about the similarities between her and Adrian Veidt, in that, if Adrian Veidt, would he do something similar to this? This is, I think, the one aspect of her.
I think there's a lot more going on with that as well.
I saw something really cool on Reddit today.
Which was?
I didn't discover this. Someone else did. If you
Okay.
take Vite, right, and you like mirror it, and
No.
you turn the D to an R and the V to a U, it says Trieu.
Because we do know something about Adrian Veidt had surgery or something to look different.
He said that.
There was a whole thing about that.
There was.
There was a thing about that.
Plastic
Now, I'm not
surgery.
saying it's Lady True, but that's how the concept of our assumption was. That's why he looks the way he looks, which is different from the Adrian Veidt that we thought, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, right.
However,
Okay, yeah.
that is something where I was like, what if
Well, that's
something?
a
Right.
theory. That's
What
definitely.
if something?
What if something?
Because we got a lot of things, and another
But she
thing
also
about
mentions her dad.
Lady True, we don't know
Yeah.
exactly.
And he says
father,
that she says
and
that
it
he's going to
could
be there.
Veidt.
It could be Vite.
It could be
It
Veidt.
seems like all the signs are pointing towards that.
That's what I would think as well. But when it comes to things about Lady True that we're wondering, Millennium Clock. What is this?
I got no idea. I could theorize all day, but she's not giving any clues. She's just like, it tells time.
Our
It's a
plan to
clock.
save humanity.
It's going to go off. We know it's going to go off.
When it goes off, I think the Backstreet Boys are going to come out. And
Yeah, that's the one thing that's like the ace in the hole here.
Backstreet's back. All right.
Lady True. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's going to have something to do with Dr. Manhattan. Big time.
Thank you for that vague prediction. Thank you for that very vague prediction, because we learned a lot of things have to do with Dr. Manhattan, except for the Manhattan boots that we've been getting these phone calls on, and they seem to be going nowhere. Manhattan is no longer on Mars. We know this. Lady True knows this. We also know that he does not listen to the calls.
Right.
And we also know specifically that the Manhattan booths basically go nowhere. They go into what I could only assume is a type of development where she's getting these profiles on people just
Right.
based on what they're calling and praying about. Dr. Manhattan.
which I think, I mean, that's the thing is now knowing that she, like earlier we theorized that maybe she does have some connection to Manhattan and that's why she's operating these booths. But obviously she's just operating the booths because it's a smart business decision, I guess. Like,
Mark
we don't-
Zuckerberg is so jealous right now.
I mean, talk about gathering data. We don't really know what it's for, but I do think it's going to factor into whatever her
Millennium
big
Clock.
plan is. Yeah.
It answers why that
Save
car-
humanity.
Save humanity. Answers why that car dropped when Lori Blake left the message at the end of the episode. I mean, now we know she has those helicopters and everything. So clearly she heard that and played into that joke.
I don't know if it's clearly.
It's definitely, it wasn't Manhattan.
Well, I actually didn't
we
even think
thought
about
that
that.
Manhattan
That's
dropped it,
true,
and
yeah.
it wasn't Manhattan.
It wasn't
as we
Manhattan,
know.
but I don't know about clearly. Simply because the car was dropped for Angela. Angela was there as well.
Okay.
So just because they were in different parts of the same location.
I think she was
the
eavesdropping on that phone call.
The timing was great, but that was Angela's car. It wasn't a brick.
But it also played for Lori's joke.
It did. Coincidence, timing. That's
I
just
think
destiny.
not.
That is destiny. But I will say something about Lori Blake. Agent Blake, like Lady True, who was very aware of many things, Agent Blake went in to meet with Jude and knew a lot of details.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Too many details, actually. She knew way too many details as she went in to talk to Jane Crawford. And she spoke up. And Jane Crawford came off, really? Is that supposed to mean something to me? And then went straight to pushing the button.
Yeah.
The button that didn't work. The
Trying,
trap
yeah.
door that didn't work at first.
Hilarious.
Amazing bit. And I love how they didn't just like kind of move on from that. They go back to who has a trap door in their living room. So awesome. Yeah, it played into a trope we see in like James Bond movies where the villain kind of just reveals everything but immediately presses like some button. I really love that a lot.
But this time the villain didn't. Agent Blake revealed everything, and Jane tried to play it
Confirmed
off
it.
for literally once, twice.
Yeah.
By the third time, she's like, yeah, it's true.
pressing the button.
But Keen does. He basically
Keen
lays
does.
out the plan.
Keen does try to lay out the
Yeah,
plan.
like just like you said, like it references the comic book itself because in the end, Ozzy says like I'm not gonna sit here and explain to you like you think I would tell
I'm
you
not
all
a
this
Bond
stuff.
villain.
Yeah, he says like I'm not, So now seeing this juxtaposed with the trap door, Keen explaining the plan, and also her specifically saying like who has a trap door, to me this screams 7th Cavalry are that Bond villain, which means their plan's going to fail. I think something's still going to happen from it, but I think their plan's going to fail, which makes me think the real bad guy has to be Lady Trieu and Reeves. And so whatever they're up to, this whole saving humanity thing, now I'm like...
Everyone who tries to save humanity condemns humanity. The path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
When it comes to Agent Blake, were you surprised that Agent Blake was able to make so many connections with so few clues?
No.
I think she had quite a bit of clues, especially just she's putting it all together with she's listening to every phone call, all these conversations. She became aware of Cyclops after talking with Angela and hearing her, talk in her sleep. And I think, just learning about the white robe in Don Johnson's closet, or Judge Crawford's closet, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I really, it just shows how great a detective she is. I didn't think any of it was too far-fetched. I think she had just the right amount of clues, and putting it all together there with Keen, I thought the most telling line was him saying, like, we're not white supremacists. We just want to restore things back to the way they were. It's too hard to be a white man in America. It was just so, oh my gosh.
I'm sure you could feel and sympathize with that. Ryan,
no.
My question for you is...
Yeah. Oh, boy.
My question for you is,
okay.
What is the 7th Cavalry plan?
What is their overall plan? I think it's to convert as many people as possible, just like they did with Looking Glass.
He says the plan. The plan is to turn them into Dr. Manhattan. So either just Keen or as many as they can. So I'm guessing the plan is to use those type of portal things to try and capture Dr. Manhattan.
Maybe it's a big clock.
And then turn him into... I just don't buy that they're on the same side.
You don't think that Lady Trieu might be using them to make them think, we're going to get Dr. Manhattan's powers, but she has another agenda?
That definitely...
That's kind of what I think.
I mean, everything is possible.
Yeah.
Until we know for sure that it's not... It's definitely possible. They do have the tech, but I think that
the octopus is really running everything.
Right, yeah, this whole time, the octopus has been in the ocean. I mean, the octopus is psychic.
Controlling people's minds. So we are not sure what the 7th Cavalry plan is, but we're assuming it's to convert people into Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah. Well, he says,
That's the plan.
I want to be blue.
That's basically what they want to do.
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly the extent and what they're going to do with it once it happens. They want to restore this balance to white America, make America great again.
That's what I think that's what his goal is.
Making white America great again. So we get that, and we get the 7th Cavalry plan, or at least what we think is their plan.
Right.
We get Lady Trieu, and what we don't know is her plan or why. They all tie in together. How does Adrian's trial tie in to any of this?
This was the most... It's funny, we get these little excerpts every episode, and... This was the weirdest one. It just didn't really... It was one scene, and it was the trial, and I thought it was funny. The fart, like, how does he plea? I think what was interesting this time around was there wasn't really a major passage of time. So
they say that this is the 365th day of the trial.
Yes, it's a year.
In the past, we have theorized that, it was just like a few years behind, and now it's like, I think we're really not even on the same wavelength with time. We have no idea when this is taking place.
Yeah.
Like, this could have been a decade ago. Like, we really don't know how long ago this is in relation to Tulsa. So that's what was kind of running through my mind. I thought we were really entering like a meetup point, and I'm now convinced that that's not the case. I don't think that they're going to intersect.
Yep, that's what I thought. As soon as we saw the second cake, I had a feeling that we're seeing him on a separate timeline, and then at some point he's gonna just be in the rest of the story, and it'll be like, oh cool, now we know how you got here.
But the thing about the cake is, like, they've said lines like he went missing, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, and now we've passed that many years. So I just don't think... I'm not even convinced. I was convinced with the cakes that they were going to intersect. I'm just not now, because so much time has passed. And it looks like he's sentenced he's sentenced. He's not going to get out of this.
You have to remember, he has a lot of time. There's a lot of time for him to account for.
There's a ton of time.
The newspaper clipping says he went missing in 2012, right?
Right.
So if each episode has been a year, that's 7 years. So if
You still think it can intersect?
I still think it can. I think this is the last year. The way this scene to me is incredibly interesting because there's a lot of deep metaphors and analogies that are going on, but overall in its whole, it's just kind of silly and seems nonsensical. So if you're not looking really deep at it, like the pigs, which are like a utilitarian metaphor, and like there's a lot of things, just like the 365 dialogue thing, like yeah, of course he stands up and farts because he's been on trial for a year. So to me, I read that scene as he's waiting for whoever got his message from the satellite. It takes however long it takes to get to Europa. He's just enduring this trial because that's just what it is. He doesn't have a choice.
A ton of people in the chat are theorizing that that statue on Lady Trieu's property is him.
They've cut 2 times now.
2 times.
They have cut literally straight to it from him. And he's currently wearing that outfit, and he looks just like that.
It's a good point.
Just like it, to the point where it seemed in a
Almost
way that
like he was
frozen.
inside of
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Ooh.
But I don't think he's inside it right now.
Ooh.
Not to say that when he gets saved and crash landed that maybe he got stuck in that on the way or something, or I don't know. But he might be in there.
He could be that statue.
Well, one thing we do know is that Cal is Dr. Manhattan.
Cal is Dr. Manhattan.
Huge reveal, huge plot twist. Great to see happen. If you shake your head like that again, Nate, we're going to have to fight.
I was just saying Dr. Manhattan is Cal.
Just because we predicted it doesn't mean.
But also Cal is Dr. Manhattan.
Yes.
But Cal's not really anything. Cal is a shell.
Cal
that he
is an
created.
amazing husband, an amazing father.
He's too
an
perfect.
Amazing lover.
He was always
we
too perfect.
knew he was too perfect.
He was too good.
I
all right?
knew this.
He had to have some kind of flaw.
The car crash was not real. He does not have complete amnesia. Very rare, by the way, except in soap operas.
I love that they threw that in there.
That was great. But yeah, let's unpack that a little. So it sounded like he had amnesia. He wasn't fully aware. When Angela's taking the hammer to his head, she is trying to convince what we think is Cal.
She breaks something out of Cal. She breaks out this ring. It's very similar to the atom represented on
looks like his logo, yeah.
Dr. Manhattan's forehead. What is that ring?
It's also the
Probably
7th.
an inhibitor, I guess, maybe made of tachyons to kind of keep him from being himself so he can pretend to be Cal. That's what I would guess. It seems like we're going to get some type of thing next week where he...
You know, Dr. Manhattan likes girls. Can we throw that out there?
I mean,
he
he
does like girls.
He does.
He does
That's
like
the
girls.
one human thing about him. In a way.
Yeah, no, it really is.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what Damon has come up with as to the reason why it's played out this way.
I actually think it's because being human is the most unique experience in the cosmos.
I think also he's
definitely
just like, he's really fucking sad in the books. Like all this knowledge of flat time and like the way things are and the way things are made and like
Yes.
it doesn't make him happy.
They
He
say
doesn't
ignorance
enjoy
is
this.
bliss
He
for a
said
reason.
it
But it's
several times.
It's the
He's incredibly
relationships
depressed.
that keep him human. My big thing is this. Like, I know we were joking about these predictions and if did we call it or not. I think this is one of the biggest twists in TV of this decade. Like, the amount of people that did not see this coming. Social media was all over this. People
the
were
only
losing
people who
their
saw
minds.
it was Nate and I. Everyone else was very shocked.
There
Like,
was
this
a
is a
lot of
huge
clues.
twist.
Okay, there was a
A
lot of clues.
A lot.
There were a lot of clues.
I
Lori,
thought so
He's
too.
always wearing blue. He's always wearing driving a blue car.
He's got a blue car.
Lori's dildo is called Excalibur.
And Lori specifically
A bar.
Let's also not forget how Lori
It was right there.
keeps saying your husband's so hot. And
She does.
That's
Wow.
She compares him to Dr.
her ex.
Manhattan in the car.
Yeah. It's
Look,
really
I'm
great.
just saying, there were a
There were a
lot
lot of clues. That's how we predicted it to begin with. Let's get to our special segment, buy or sell.
This is the segment where there's an aspect of the show that you are either buying, wow, that was so awesome, or selling, man, I think that could have been better. I'll go first. I am selling that heart attack, man. What a convenient heart attack where, hey, I'm your grandmother.
I'm sure there was nothing convenient for Grandma June.
It was not convenient at all. She's like, hey, just fasten your seatbelt, honey. Goes around in the car, and we just see her drop like a fly in the rearview mirror.
What are you buying?
I am I'm buying this ultimate twist. I think this is the biggest twist in TV of the decade. This was huge.
Nate Miller.
I'm
Miller time.
buying that Keen just gives his whole plan up and like a supervillain and uses trapdoors. I am selling two things. I'm selling the tutorial injection from the memory place, that was some bullshit. If you could just induce people out of consciousness and like project images into their brain and then wake them up, like that would be the show would be about, because that's really strong. 2, I don't even remember, but I'm over it now.
Okay. Well, I'm buying the elephant.
Nice.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was really smart.
The trunk.
I am. And I'm selling Angela not being affected by this orphanage where she was just calm. I think she should have been way more excited that Grandma was here to take her home. Like, she should have been like, oh, Grandma, they have me cleaning the floor. Please.
Take
me.
Yeah.
I'm selling.
Also,
know her grandma.
oddly calm when she died. Just like...
Well, I could see her being calm. At this point, she's seen her parents get blown up amongst a group of people. So I understand that sentiment. However, I just feel like she should have been a little more excited.
I remembered. I'm selling the Manhattan Globe. It just happens to play conveniently the clip at the right time. Like, how do you interface with this thing? How many memories does it save? You just press Tulsa and then it just starts playing.
That's how it works. That's how it works. Let's get into some news and gossip, shall we?
AfterBuzz TV News.
So we have a couple pieces of news and gossip. The first one is actually one of my favorite, is which we realized that Watchmen is a TV ratings hit because of word of mouth. Variety actually reports on this, explaining the situation where people are going out of their way to give Watchmen low ratings on Rotten Tomatoes sites and critic sites, and yet it's still a huge hit because, of course, people have been talking. Yes, the streets are talking and making it extremely popular, and that is one of the huge reasons why 1.2 million viewers tuned in as it was played live, let alone its streaming numbers.
We did it, y'all.
Live plus same-day ratings are in the top premieres of HBO. That's always great. In other news, CBR.com, our good friends there, did an entire article where Watchmen reveals the secret link between Batman and Sister Night. Now, you're going to want to watch this. You're going to want to read this. It has a lot of good spoilers, but if you've been watching the show, you're up to date. And it explains how Batman and Sister Night are actually connected.
Ooh.
And that is a great read, especially after this week's episode. So make sure to check that out. Let's get into some predictions, shall we?
Yes, we should.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Nate Miller and I have a couple predictions. Nate, would you like to let them know what we are thinking?
All right, here we go.
Let's
I think Lady Trieu bought everyone in the town TVs, and the Millennium Clock is going to do something with the mind control technology that Will had via the TVs that are now in the whole town to do something to the people. I don't know.
Save humanity.
Something with trauma and memories. Maybe the wishes to Dr. Manhattan come into play. I'm not sure how that would happen. But yeah, she's up to something bad, and it's going to be through that. I'm guessing it's going to be part of the American Hero Story thing, like when the finale airs, because it's been like in show, it's a big hit. People like it, so I think something to do with that.
Nice.
That's what we think. Ryan, what do you think?
I predict the clock is going to go off, and it is going to turn everyone blue. I'm blue, da die.
Well, that's all we have for the show this week. However, we have much more. Where can people find you if you want to be found? Nate Miller.
You can find me and all the right predictions at Dog Like Nate.
And Ryan Nilsen.
And you can find me at Ryan Nilsen, Nilsen, and at Ryan Nilsen _ on Instagram. Thank you so much for everyone in the chat. 150 people in the chat. Please hit that like button. We only got 25 likes. There's 150 people in the chat. Hit that like button. Go on iTunes. Give us a review. I'll read your review on air next week.
And of course, you can find me apologizing to my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, my cousin, who Nate called a gigolo, and to Watchmen for calling it a sequel. Or find me online at I Am Tehran, all across the board, IAMTEHRAN. And of course, hosting and paneling on a slew of other AfterBuzz after shows, because all of your favorite TV shows are my favorite TV shows too. Until next week!
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.